Floating head time with Football Manager. Football Manager, well, it's spawned a whole genre of football management games. Written by Kevin Toms, who also founded Addictive Software. Starting off on the Spectrum version, not the original. The game originally started off on the ZX81 and the video. Well, it was originally coded for the Video Genie, but it was then ported to the ZX81. The Video Genie was a TRS-80 clone, compatible with the Dragon. I don't have those machines, and those versions are more basic. This is the Spectrum version, and it's coded entirely in BASIC. Apparently, Kevin Thomas felt this was better for a game like this. So you put your name in, you select your team, and there are many teams to choose from, and you select your skill level. And on the Spectrum, you select your team colours, which can be either black or white. No other options, 0 or 7. We go for 7. And there's a few pauses on the Spectrum version here because it's written in BASIC, and Spectrum BASIC isn't particularly quick. So you have this menu screen. You've been seeing this menu screen a lot, tells you what's going on, and that is our team. We've got skill, energy, and value. It's a good idea to keep the players' energy up by resting them. You can obtain a loan, pay off a loan, and do various other things. We're going to start off with a game. We are Norwich, and we are playing Blackpool. That's our stat, energy, morale, defence, midfield, and attack. And you've got to balance your team around that. You can't control morale other than winning, but you can control your energy, so you swap players around, although you only start off with 12 players. You don't have a goalkeeper, you just have defence, midfield, and attack. And there's a lot of typing 99 to continue as well. Kevin Thomas self-published this on the Addictive label. And the thing is, it has 3D graphics that depict the game, and it shows you if you score a goal, your opposition scores a goal. Did we select black or white? And you've got goal, no goal, and various other things. Well, not much really. Either basically your stickman scores a goal, or he doesn't, or the other team attack you. Now, the other team, Blackpool, are attacking our goal. Yes, there is colour clash when they cross over the lines. And if you press escape, it's a basic listing. There you go. That is it. That is all of the game code there. But it's very versatile. You can pick your own team. You can change the player names. You can do all sorts of things. This is the MSX version. It was published by Endurance Games Limited and in 1987, so perhaps, I think that was about the time Kevin Toms sold out to Prism. So this is published on the MSX. All these versions play exactly the same way. A nicer menu screen on the MSX here, and you've got some real player names in there, which you get on the other versions as well, although it's more up to date. Got Gary Lineker in there, for example. And Bruce Grobbelaar, the famous goalkeeper, is listed as defender because the game only has defenders. You can also save and load games, which helps longevity because you can save your progress and load it back in. We are Portsmouth. We're going to play Bury. That is our team. We've got this time the different positions are colour coded. Not much we can do there. So let's play and see what these graphics look like. And they're much nicer on the MSX. Comparatively speaking, much nicer sound effects as well. Probably a little bit of sprite movement going on. It's still using the same routines where the players move around one block at a time, but they're actually animating as they move. If you see what I mean, there's a weird kind of thing going on here. He's still kicking a full stop though. There's crowd effects in the background as well. Here you go, we're attacking. Oh, that was saved. So it's a little bit faster action here on the MSX machines. Wikipedia would have you believe the MSX version doesn't have graphics, but no, unless this was a second version, but this is the version I downloaded and loaded in, and yeah, all seems to work. You have gate receipts as well, which is your income because you're managing the finances for your team as well. Beat Berry 1-0. Instead of typing 99 the entire time, we're also pressing enter to continue, which is nice. And there's the results of the entire league, and that's our league position very quickly appearing there. And that's our finances for the week. We have made £600, and we can buy Diego Maradona for £5,000. Let's bid for that. Diego Maradona has joined our team. Well, over to the CPC version, I got this in a compilation in about 1989, 1991, something like that. A football compilation, lots of football games on there, some good, some bad. Peter Beardsley's was on there. Peter Shilton's hand goal, Maradona, was also on there. And this appears to be a Spanish version of the game with Spanish players and Spanish team names. But never mind. Got the same colour coding you got on the MSX. CPC system font here. Appears to be very similar to the MSX. Perhaps it was coded by the same team, although it appears to have come out earlier, so I'm not sure. And the graphics, again, look similar to the MSX without the extra animation. And more basic sound effects. No crowd noises other than when you score a goal. And it's not as nice either. So we are Barcelona, and I'm not even going to try and pronounce who we're playing. Sorry to our Spanish viewers. I know a lot of people do view ChinnyVision in Spain. Makes me very envious because you've got nice weather, and we don't have here. We've won 2-0. Inexplicably, our gate receipts are still £5,000 and not pesetas, which is what it would have been at the time. And a little bit more of a pause as well on the CPC when it's thinking about the league tables, which indicates to me perhaps the MSX does have machine code stuff going on and the CPC version doesn't. And we can buy players, and you do need to buy players. You start off with £100,000. You do need to buy players because you can bolster your squad, because you will need to swap the players around in order to get the energy levels up. And I've had my bid rejected, but I do want that player. So he's joined my team. And we've got FA, and again, inexplicably in Spain, we've got an FA Cup match. Over to the BBC Micro, where everything is mode 7, and that's a memory choice by Kevin Toms, who coded this version because he simply didn't have enough memory on a 32K BBC Micro to do the graphics otherwise. It means it's all super fast. Nice complement of teams. Full 64, and not all of them have. Not all the versions have the full 64 teams. There's one difference on the BBC Micro. You can view your fixture list. And look at these fonts. It's evocative of Teletext and CFAX, isn't it? The double height fonts. And there we go. Everyone in the UK of a certain age knows that font. I'm playing as Aldershot. That's Peterborough versus Aldershot. We're playing away. Colour coding again. And if ever your players are injured, it will show you on the right-hand side with an eye. An injury appears to be random, although low energy, I think, can contribute to injury as well. So I'm going to swap one player around here just to save some energy on a better player. There's a lot of juggling, especially later on in the game. Quite evenly balanced teams. They've got a better midfield, though, so we're going to match highlights. And yes, on the BBC Micro, it is a load of hunchbacks running around, but that's a function of the fact it's mode 7. The only way they could do the highlights on the BBC Micro was to do all of this in mode 7, and therefore the graphics are going to look like this. You do get this basic a cursor flashing around on the screen when things are happening. Look on the left-hand side there, it moves around depending on where it is on the screen, because again, I suppose this is coded predominantly in BASIC. Now the results for Division 4, Blackpool 0, Halifax 2, Doncaster 2, Bristol City 3, Peterborough 1, Aldershot 1, oh we got one goal, Reading 1, Wrexham 1, Stockport 3, Swindon 2, Torquay 2, York City 1, and there's the league table. Nice and quick on the BBC Micro, but expected to be because it's got a lovely, fast BASIC. And we can buy Glenn Hoddle here down here in Division 4, £25,000. Let's bid a few extra pounds more because he probably needs them for his previous lives. Acorn Electron has a port of the game as well. It's very similar to the BBC Micro version, except it uses this weird screen mode here, presumably to save even more memory because it leaves these blank lines. I've seen this screen mode used a little bit on the BBC Micro, but it's not particularly easy on the eye. Some people may disagree. It's not easy on the eye there when I select my skill level. And this is because the Electron does not have mode 7. They didn't have the money or inclination to put it into that machine. So here we are in this screen mode, and they're trying to use one that's as efficient as possible. But you've still got the fixtures feature as well to view those. But there's no in-game graphics. This is it. This is it. This is all you get. Text only. And when the game's going on, you can't influence the outcome as well. You can't put substitutes on. You can't change tactics. You just sit here and watch. Final score, Port Vale 1, Newcastle 1. And essentially, in most ways, apart from the screen mode and the fact there's nothing to watch for the games, it's the same as the BBC Micro version. But unfortunately, that lack of graphics for the games takes away the tension. You don't get all that building up. Over the C64, and one of the features of Football Manager is you can change the names of the players and the teams to whatever you like and load those in, save those, whatever you like. So we're going to change some team names. I need to find my team. 99. Kevin Toms loves 99. Could be worse. I selected Spurs, team number 64, so I'm going to type in Chinny. Chinny FC. Any more changes? No. Do you want to change any player names? I can change any player names in this version. There's only a limited amount of player names in the game. On the transfer market, you'll see the same player names coming up. And indeed, on some of the more memory-limited machines, once you've bought so many players, there's nobody else offered to you on the transfer market to say there's no players available this week because there's no more memory. That's it. Again, colour coding, and we've got some names you may recognise on the left-hand side there. Famous footballers and famous people from online. And I've bought a little bit into the game now, so I've got a few players. Again, it's balancing up the energy. That's the important thing, getting those skillful players on, but making sure they've got the most energy, and sometimes bringing in other players when the other team's attributes are significantly lower than yours in a particular area. Say they've got rubbish midfield, I've got a strong one here, but you could rest, in theory, some of your midfield players and put them into other areas so they get more energy back. Oh, you actually get a screen on the C64 showing you the score between each goal on the highlights. This is quite nice, but I'm not sure what's going on with the crowd. It appears to be just a multicolour layer of sick. Hull 1, Chinny FC 1. This is the game, of course, that spawned an entire label, the future Football Manager games, Football Manager 2, Football Manager World Cup Edition, I think there was, or was that a version of Football Manager 2, Football Manager 3, Software Star, and so on, all based in Bournemouth. Just up the road from McDonald's and turn left. Not that far from the Bournemouth Amstrad Centre, and not that far from where Retro Gamer were. And there's ports for so many systems. There is a PC port. However, it's a modern conversion. It says 1982 on it, but it never came out originally. Someone's done that since. It's a little bit confusing. Incidentally, although the game was originally written on the Video Genie and then ported to the ZX81, there were 100 times more sales on the ZX81 than the Video Genie, according to Kevin Toms. Sold Mr. Ken Shabby. Sorry, Ken. Hoping to have him back on the channel soon to talk about a License to Kill. Hopefully another James Bond game, because he's a James Bond expert. And he's got a book out as well. Check that out. All about Bond from Smirsh Pod, his podcast. Top bloke. We're over the C16 version with all these formats, and I'm doing level 2 on all these versions, so we've got a comparison, by the way, and you've got a more basic menu as well. Across all the versions, the first 6 years, it sold 500,000 copies. C16 is going to be ultra cut down, as you'd expect. Akin, I guess, back to what the ZX81 version would have been like. Haven't played that because I don't have a machine. So we're Aldershot, and we're going to hit enter on this version, return. 16K. You and I have sent emails today that are much, much larger than, well, every email these days with all the guff that goes in the top and bottom of that you have to include is much more than 16K. But yeah, we've typed things today that are longer than 16K. And obviously on the C16 there is no match graphics. There's not going to be, is there? You do get an explosion effect every time someone scores a goal. Sinclair user reviewed the game but didn't like the lack of realism on the player ratings. And also the game was nominated for the 1983 Golden Joystick Awards, coming second to The Hobbit. And yeah, there's less teams in the C16 version, so you've got to bear that in mind as well. Like I said, also said, less players on the transfer market as well. And you can buy and sell players, although you can only buy one player at a time. You can sell as many players as you want. Over to the Atari 8-bit, and I had to buy this version on tape thanks to the people who support ChinnyVision on Patreon, because it was your money I spent on this, because it's a basic game, so basically, I couldn't get it to load in via my IDE cartridge, because they're all geared towards machine code games. Well, apparently you can, but it got too complicated, and it was just easier to go on eBay and buy the game there. And being an Atari 8-bit game, despite being incredibly small and basic game, it takes forever to load. I literally died of old age loading the game in. Also, it has the Spectrum screenshots on the back of the tape, and then it says, actual Spectrum screenshots, layout may alter according to format. Actual Spectrum screenshots, okay, for the Atari 48K, right, does that matter? And then layout may alter according to format. And then 3D graphics do not appear on Atari 48K format, but you've spent time showing us the 3D graphics on the back. You can win a trip to the 1987 Cup Final. Entry forming is enclosed, and I have the entry form. Who is the current manager of the England soccer team? Brian Robson, Bobby Robson, Paul Robson, and questions like that. And you have to get your computer dealer to stamp your entry, and you have to cut off part of the cover. Yeah, I wonder how many people invented that game. Make it as difficult as possible, Kevin. So I'm Luton. I've got quite good stats apart from my midfield. And there are no 3D graphics because this runs on 48K Atari 8-bits, not just the 64Ks. And there's no graphics. The reviews on the back of this game say the Sunday Times said it was absorbing and realistic, highly recommended. Crash say it's an amazingly engrossing game, and Practical Computing say the originator Addictive Games certainly deserve the name. And like I was saying, a cup final voucher involves me cutting off the edge of the cover. Dear me. It's the same game on the Atari. It just any of these versions that lack the graphics aren't as good, because that's half the joy of it. The anticipation of, will that stickman put that full stop into the net? That's what the addictive part of Football Manager is. Amazingly, there's Amiga and ST versions, converted by Prism Leisure in about 1990. I bought a copy of this from my mate for his ST for $1.99 on Prism's budget label, and there's music as well here on the Atari ST. All the nice selection of teams. You've got more than 64 teams. You've got 80 teams here. Sorry, apparently this version was $2.99 on the Prism budget label, and Amiga Power gave it a score of only 19% because it's been out-featured by practically every other game in the genre, but was still massively Addictive, and then said it was still a classic and one of the legends of computer games. Make up your mind, AP. I mean, $2.99 Football Manager. Anyway, I haven't looked at the Amiga version yet. So again, we've got famous names from the world of football. You can't do that these days. Every one of these players would require you to be licensed their name. We're going to get match highlights, and look at this on the ST. Isn't it rather lovely? Say basic. $2.99 though. $2.99. And yes, my mate did play this on his ST and he enjoyed it. Even though we had Premier Manager by then, because I think we got this a little bit later. But we still used to get this game out and play it. It's no better than a PD game of the era. Certainly, but it's still, nearly 10 years after it was originally released, we were playing this on a 16-bit machine. It's not 19%. Not considering that you were paying $2.99 for this. It was a PD game at the time. Pound, 75p a pound, something like that. Perhaps a little bit more plus postage. It's exactly the same code. Well, it's ported over in some way, shape or form. There's nothing special, but it's nice and fast. And it's all here. By Cyril Regis. Is he still playing in 1991? My bid is refused. Cyril's insulted. He's joined my team. You've got to get players in. You have to get some players in. Over to the Amiga. It's presentation ahoy because the workbench screen loads up. You click on the icon and then you have a taskbar at the top of the screen the entire time. Copyright 1990 Prism Ledger PLC. I think this might have been written in Amos. Yep, the taskbar is back, although I don't recall the bar being at the top of the screen the entire time in Amos, although I might have had a later version. Enter your name. And again, a $2.99 release. Presumably Prism just said to someone, go and convert this code to the 16 bits and we'll bung you a bit of money and stick it out on budget. Not just budget, $2.99. Other games on the label as well. I can't remember the name of the label, but remember Beyond the Ice Palace was also out on the Prism budget label. So Bouncer on my team. The stats are different every game. That's really important. So you never get the same stats for your team. And also, at the end of each season, your stats re-randomise, which means your team can suddenly become rubbish, the team you've built up. Oh dear, this isn't good. It's much, much slower. It's nowhere near as good as the ST version. Looks nice until it starts to move. Sampled audio in the background. Sounds like someone's pointed a microphone at a cheap television speaker, or cheap microphone at a television speaker. But the gameplay is so remarkably...
Halifax,
oh!
No. Hull City, no. Hartlepool, 3. Maidstone, 1. Tortvale, 2. Mansfield, 1. Scunthorpe, 1. Hereford, no. Rochdale, 3. Stockport, 2. Crewe Alexandra,
It's Amos.
3. Torquay,
Say.
1. Colchester, 2. Buryton,
Bury.
1.
Well, it's great to hear Professor Stephen Hawking read the football results there. I've always wanted to hear that. Yeah, that was uncalled for, wasn't it? Give people a say command and they will use it. This has got to be Amos. It has to be, hasn't it? Although even I could get rid of that taskbar. Right, so we could buy Tony Adams. £16,000, £15,000 for him, £1,000 for some booze for him. Back to the Specky. And I'm now playing as Luton Town. So we haven't shown much of the Specky version, the kind of original version with the 3D graphics. Not the original version, but the first version with these 3D graphics. And it's very simple. You get goal or no goal. No score on the screen. quite a long pause between things happening because the Specky Basic is very, very slow. Sorry, Specky owners, it's just true. You don't have the speed of a machine like the BBC Micro when it comes to your basic interpreter. Let it go in. Oh, saved. Long pause. Oh, it's thinking about it. At least a thing on the screen saying thinking. Oh, yay. We've scored. We've scored. That's the goal graphic you saw in that listing earlier when it scrolled past. Here we go. I'm attacking again from down here. I've got no chance of scoring from down there. Ah, no goal. Come on, come on, come on. In it goes, yes! Luton 2, Torquay Neil. I'm like David Pleat in my beige jacket running onto the pitch. Other matches, Division 4. And your revenue changes depending on how successful you are in the league. And an FA Cup run as well is really important because that gets you more revenue. And this happens a lot on the Spectrum version. Please wait while the league table is calculated. This takes forever. I'm second in the league. I don't know what the different colours indicate down below. Why isn't my team a different colour from everyone else? I'm not sure. Does this indicate future games coming up? I'm not sure. My instructions, or at least the Atari versions, don't tell me. End of the season here on the Specky. So it's calculated the league table. And I'm going to be promoted. Takes about 45 minutes to do a season on most of these versions. And yes, I have played a few full seasons on, well, most of these versions, to be honest. See what the differences are. And there's not a lot. Some of the versions give you a rating at the end of the season, some don't. And you can press S on there to get the score. And you can see the team has changed. Some of my best players have now gone to a skill of 1. Some of my worst players have now got a skill of 5. And it just gets completely re-randomised. 3 players are randomly now injured for no reason at the start of the season. This is the frustrating thing about Football Manager. You spend a season building up a good team, you get promoted, or you go on to another season, and the entire thing gets wrecked. And it means it means every season's a repeat of the last, if you see what I mean. But in terms of building up and doing the same stat juggling and buying players rather than building on what you've got. And there's only a score of a skill level of 5. So if your team comes up against a first division team, we're on the BBC Micro version now, by the way. If you come into the FA Cup and you play Manchester United and you've got a skill level of 5 but you're 4th division and they've got a skill level of 5 but they're first division, old first division, you can still beat them pretty easily. Because it doesn't differentiate between skill levels between the leagues, if you see what I mean. So I've got 2 players injured here. The reason I haven't sold Trevor Brooking is because he's cheap and I can just stick him in. So we're playing Leeds United. I think this is a cup game now. And we will see how we go. We've got better stats. And again, here we go. This is going to be an example. I'm playing Leeds United, who were one of the top teams of the day. Not anymore, but they were of the day. And there's no hope in hell Aldershot in the 4th division would be able to beat them on an average game, but I'm 2-0 down already, so who knows. I'm still going to thrash me 3. I'm 3-0 down. Oh, come on, my team are attacking. My team of hunchbacks. Oh, we won. I like the speed of the BBC Micro version. The graphics are rubbish, but it's got so much more when you're watching it. You know, that pause of the Spectrum version. It just really gets on with it, cracks on with it. I can forgive the faults for just giving me it. It's ET. They're all ET. That's it. Aldershot 1 leads 3. Come on, we're still attacking. Come on, lads. Yay. Up the shots. Is that what they're called? Yeah, the shots. I should know that. I used to go to Aldershot enough when I was a kid. And I did my driving test in Aldershot. I had a pretty hairy time on the roundabout near the Aldershot football stadium. As I recall, heading back to the test centre. Aldershot 3, Leeds 3. Replay. This is good. FA Cup game, replay. That means we get the money again. Which is great. I think. It doesn't tell you. I assume we do. So do we need to do any juggling? We've got some players up there with 20 energy. Might have to put some of those in. Just juggle our stats around based on our previous game. And this is the thing. If you've got really good energy, you can usually edge it over other teams because the computer teams rarely have as good energy. See, Leeds 8 energy. I've got 16. And that energy always gives you an edge, providing your stats relatively match up, because that's the one thing you can manage. Leeds nil, Aldershot nil. We are at the Ellen Road. That's it, Ellen Road. Ken Bates own that now. Has he stuck an electric fence all around the ground? I don't know. 80s football reference there for you. So it's Leeds 1, Aldershot 1. Come on, the shots. I think a player called Ian McDonald from Aldershot came and gave away prizes on our school sports day once. Might have got his autograph. I didn't know who he was, but obviously we'd all got autograph books the previous day at birthday party. It was just getting everyone's autograph. Might scan that. Might put that here. I'm going to see if I can find that. Is it Ian McDonald? I've got no idea. Come on, look, this is realistic. Aldershot have won 4-1. You're through to the next round. That's great. That's more money. The FA Cup is where you see that we've earned £40,000 there. 34,000 profit. And here we go. We go on to this. I forwarded this on. We're now in the semi-final of the FA Cup. This is beyond a joke now. We are a 4th division team in the semi-final of the FA Cup because of the way the stats in Football Manager works from 1 to 5, and then the energy. You can literally stand a very good chance of going on a cup run. Of course, you can up the difficulty level, and you can up the difficulty level at any time between matches or take it down again. That's quite innovative. I've never been quite sure what happens with that. So it's Ipswich versus Aldershot. Again, they got 20 on a midfield, but we should... no room at line. 10-0, 280. Can't edit it. Let's list the game. Well, that's the basic listing on the BBC Micro. I'm going to have to go away and have a quick look at what's going on here. Right, I've just been on Stardot, where indeed it is revealed that there is a bug in the game. They fixed it, by the way. The wonderful people on Stardot. Do check that forum out. They fixed it. It's to do with memory allocation, and this being a struggle to get it into BBC Micro memory. There's a bug in the game. You cannot. It will just do that. You cannot complete all the games. Right, we are playing a Torquay on the C64. Should be coming up towards the end of the season. See, the C64 has nicer graphics, but it doesn't have that pace of the BBC version. They might all look like ET on the BBC, but it doesn't have to ping the ball around. Chinny FC 1, Torquay 1. Does slow things down having the score display between the goals, though. Why can't it be on the screen? Over to the C16, we're playing Chelsea, and they do have good stats. 20 energy. I'm not so sure I'm going to do well here. Perhaps it does allocate more to these teams, but it seems to be so random that sometimes you play teams from many divisions up and your stats. Well, look, I've got 20 in the attack, and Chelsea have got 8. I've got 13 in midfield, and Chelsea have got 6. They got 20 energy, but I basically, on defence, I should be able to beat them. And indeed I am. Perhaps that's the sound of people being electrocuted on Ken Bates's electric fence. That's it. It's not crowd applauding. They're being shocked. Aldershot 3, Chelsea 1. Chelsea, a youth team, play at Aldershot, don't they? Very long association there. And they go around and knock the ball around. Pre-season, they always do a pre-season at Aldershot, don't they? I've won the FA Cup with Aldershot, who at this time, their chairman was Arthur English. I'm not making that up. Arthur English, the caretaker bloke from Are You Being Served, was the chairman of Aldershot. And that ended well. So that's been a bit of a trek. Football Manager. And there are many, many versions of the game. And as you can see, it depends what you get on how much memory you have. I'm afraid those versions without the 3D graphics aren't as good. And unfortunately, even the Atari version is cut down because they went for 48K, not 64K. So that pretty much rules out the Electron, the C16, and the Atari 8-bit versions. The Spectrum version is the first enhanced version of the game after the original ZX81 and Video Genie versions. It is far, far too slow. It's incredibly frustrating waiting for the machine to process stuff. I played an entire season. It seemed like years were passing. The game's better on the CPC, but not as good as it is on the MSX, where there's a little bit more speed and a little bit more colour and everything moves around on the screen better. C64 version's fun, nice graphics, and I really like the BBC version because it's really, really nippy. And I love that Mode 7 look, that CFAX look. That is so evocative of football results. Checking how your teams were scoring on a Saturday afternoon on CFAX, on Teletext. That is so, nobody outside the UK will probably get that, but it looks so right, even if you've got a team of hunchbacks running around on the screen. Although that said, that team of hunchbacks are moving really, really quickly, which adds an added dimension to the game. You'll notice I'm not commenting on gameplay differences between the versions, because essentially, aside from having less players and less teams in the low memory versions, they all play exactly the same. Football Manager is the first of a genre. It's a resource management game at the end of the day. Keep the energy up, buy good players in, get rid of the bad ones, rinse, repeat. It is still curiously addictive today. I do suggest you check it out today, perhaps on the MSX or the BBC Micro, because this is the start of a genre. This is the start of a multi-million-pound industry.